One day, you return home after a long and demanding day. Your mind is racing, your body aches, and almost instinctively, you find yourself reaching for a bottle of wine or beer in the refrigerator. This scenario, a daily reality for countless individuals, highlights a significant truth. The habit of drinking often occurs without conscious awareness. For adults in the prime of their lives, between 25 and 45 years old, the alcohol routine has become ingrained, as automatic as reaching for your smartphone upon waking. It's intertwined with notions of relaxation, well-deserved respite, or even a nightly celebration. However, this autopilot mode transcends mere unconscious actions. It reveals a profound pattern of disconnection. What exactly are we truly ingesting? Is it simply a substance, or is there something more profoundly involved? While for many, alcohol is perceived solely as a social lubricant linked to fun, celebrations, or a simple way to unwind after a trying day, rarely do people question its deeper impact, not just on the physical body, but on the intricate tapestry of the mind and the very essence of the soul. This exploration will unveil the invisible and often overlooked aspects of how alcohol consumption subtly but significantly affects our energy, vibration, and our connection to something greater than ourselves. Welcome to the Arcane Vault. The etymology of the word alcohol is fascinating, originating from the Arabic term al-kuhl. Originally, al-kuhl referred to a finely refined powder used as a cosmetic, most notably kohl, the dark substance used to line the eyes. This powder was prized for its ability to create a more intense, captivating, and seemingly penetrating gaze. Intriguingly, al-kuhl also carries a deeper, more symbolic meaning, something that covers or conceals. Over time, this term evolved, becoming associated with the processes of distillation and, ultimately, the alcoholic beverages we consume today. But does this act of covering extend beyond the purely physical? Could alcohol upon consumption be masking something within our perception, our consciousness, or even our authentic selves? Consider this. If the origin of the word implies something that obscures, are we, by habitually consuming alcohol, inadvertently covering over our own inherent spiritual essence? This line of inquiry leads us to a potent and potentially unsettling question. What are we truly sacrificing in exchange for fleeting moments of pleasure or perceived relaxation? Let's examine American pop culture for common ground. It's saturated with depictions of alcohol as a catalyst for uninhibited behavior or liberating experiences. In countless movies and television shows, drinking is often portrayed as synonymous with fun, a source of artificial courage, or even a gateway to controlled chaos. Rarely, however, is it questioned as a force that might subtly influence our personal energy or detract from our greater purpose. Since the dawn of civilization, alcohol has played a prominent role in human history, often revered as a central element in sacred rituals, exuberant celebrations, and somber ceremonies. Consider the ancient Greek festivals honoring Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, and ecstatic revelry, or the lavish Roman banquets where wine consumption was intricately associated with forging connections with the gods and strengthening vital social bonds. Advancing through history, we find alcohol deeply embedded in the spiritual practices of various indigenous cultures, powerful Viking ceremonies, and even secretive medieval rituals. During these periods, it was frequently regarded as a tool for transcendence, a portal facilitating passage between the tangible physical world and the intangible realms of the spirit. However, this once sacred relationship has gradually transformed into something considerably more mundane and recreational, heavily influenced by rampant commercialization and patterns of excessive use. In contemporary society, particularly within the United States, alcohol has seamlessly woven itself into the cultural fabric through practices such as happy hour, transforming the act of drinking into a near synonym for unwinding after the stresses of the workday. On university campuses, fraternity and sorority parties frequently encourage and normalize excessive drinking, fostering a narrative where social identity and alcohol consumption are inextricably linked from a relatively early age. Despite its pervasive integration into social celebrations and cultural norms, alcohol often occupies a dualistic role. It functions simultaneously as a facilitator of connection and a readily available escape valve. Picture, for instance, a bustling family dinner on Thanksgiving or a festive holiday party. Alcohol is often present as the element that ostensibly greases the wheels of social interaction, softens potential conflicts simmering beneath the surface, and comfortably fills potentially awkward silences. But does it genuinely and authentically bring people closer together, fostering deeper connections? Or does it primarily serve to mask underlying discomfort and unresolved tensions? The truth is that for many, alcohol operates as an escape disguised as celebration. It becomes the temporary fix for overwhelming social pressures, relentless daily stress, and even profound feelings of isolation and loneliness. However, this seemingly innocuous remedy often inadvertently creates an internal disconnection, pushing us further away from the uncomfortable emotions and essential truths that need to be confronted in order to facilitate authentic spiritual growth. Are we genuinely celebrating, or are we simply attempting to escape? This inherent duality between the allure of immediate gratification and the profound human yearning for deeper meaning is a defining characteristic of humanity's complex relationship with alcohol. In bustling metropolitan centers like New York City and Los Angeles, where the pace of life is relentlessly demanding and social life is often intensely competitive, alcohol can become almost an essential accessory for navigating the social landscape. But what about those individuals who consciously choose a path of introspection, dedicated meditation, and committed spiritual growth? This particular group faces a unique and often underestimated challenge: the ongoing resistance to the pervasive cultural pressure that readily associates alcohol with harmless fun and social normalcy. This inner battle is far from new. Throughout recorded history, humanity has consistently oscillated between the tempting pursuit of immediate pleasure and the undeniable need for enduring transcendence. On one hand, consistent alcohol consumption is frequently perceived and promoted as a symbol of seamless social integration. On the other, it often directly conflicts with the dedicated pursuit of a spiritual path, which inherently requires sobriety, mindful presence, and an unwavering connection to the often challenging realities of existence. Everything in the known universe vibrates, from the infinitesimally small atom to the distant, awe-inspiring stars. All matter and energy are perpetually in a state of dynamic motion. This fundamental truth is embraced by both ancient mystical traditions and the rigorous findings of modern science. Alcohol, often casually treated as a simple relaxant or social lubricant, carries a profound and far-reaching energetic impact. Its consumption not only directly alters the delicate balance of our mind and body, but also subtly influences our overall vibrational frequency. Within the esoteric field, it's widely believed that substances like alcohol possess the inherent ability to weaken our aura, the protective energetic field that surrounds us and connects us to higher dimensions of consciousness. Imagine your energetic field as a powerful firewall, a vital barrier that shields you from potentially negative external influences. When we deliberately consume alcohol, it's akin to creating holes in that protective firewall, inadvertently allowing energies that would normally be effectively blocked to penetrate and potentially influence us. Some mystics describe alcohol as a substance that consistently lowers an individual's vibrational frequency, making them demonstrably more vulnerable to experiencing dense emotions such as deep sadness, uncontrollable anger, or pervasive fear. To illustrate this concept, consider a night when you or someone close to you consumed an excessive amount of alcohol. What began as seemingly harmless fun often devolves into heated arguments, intense feelings of regret, or even an inexplicable sense of emptiness and despair the following day. This drastic fluctuation is not solely emotional, it's fundamentally energetic. Furthermore, spiritual traditions suggest that regular alcohol consumption creates fissures and cracks within our aura, which can unwittingly open the door to potentially harmful spiritual influences or negative energies. These subtle forces, often imperceptible to the conscious mind, can amplify detrimental behavioral patterns, perpetuating a cycle that becomes exceedingly difficult to break free from. Mystery schools and various Eastern philosophies have long emphasized the critical importance of maintaining both the body and mind in a purified state in order to access higher levels of consciousness and unlock one's inherent spiritual potential. In the yogic tradition, for example, the deliberate consumption of intoxicating substances is strongly discouraged, as it is believed to create detrimental blockages in the essential flow of pranic energy, which is considered essential for both deep meditation and profound self-awareness. Influential authors such as Rudolf Steiner, renowned for his extensive studies on anthroposophy and spirituality, also posited that substances like alcohol significantly hinder access to higher realms of perception and understanding. Steiner notably associated excessive alcohol consumption with a fundamental disconnection from authentic spiritual connection. Certain Western esoteric traditions, such as theosophy, teach that consistent alcohol consumption can demonstrably interfere with the development of essential spiritual faculties, such as mediumship or channeling. Envision the archetypal image of the reclusive monk, the introspective shaman, or the dedicated yogi who devotes his entire life to the dedicated pursuit of self-knowledge. In nearly every spiritual tradition, sobriety is consistently regarded as a vital gateway to profound transcendence. Alcohol, like other potentially addictive material pleasures, often morphs into a powerful form of attachment, a perceived need that keeps us tethered to immediate sensations and the limiting confines of the material world. In order to progress spiritually, these debilitating attachments must be questioned, reevaluated, and, when necessary, consciously released. It's not about demonizing alcohol or assigning moral judgment, but rather about developing a thorough understanding of how it can subtly act as an obstacle, preventing us from accessing the clarity and mindful presence required for authentic self-development. For many, casual drinking is a trivial, almost mundane act, a habit seamlessly incorporated into the daily routine. However, from a deeply spiritual perspective, every single substance we consume carries a distinct energetic signature that directly interacts with our own personal energy field. What we ingest directly influences our vibrational field, profoundly impacting both our physical health and our capacity for profound spiritual connection. Various mystical traditions consistently emphasize the inherent purity of the body as an essential prerequisite for accessing higher dimensions of consciousness. In Ayurveda, for example, the body is reverently treated as a sacred temple, and carefully maintaining its purity is considered the key to facilitating the free flow of vital energy throughout the system. Similarly, within Western esoteric practices, the physical body is seen as a sacred vessel, an instrument that needs to be carefully tuned in order to resonate with and reach higher spiritual frequencies. Prominent celebrities, respected spiritual gurus, and influential contemporary figures have openly shared their personal journeys of embracing sobriety as a transformative turning point in their lives. From renowned Hollywood icons who gave up alcohol in order to reconnect with their true essence and potential, to widely admired spiritual masters who actively advocate for sustained sobriety as a crucial pillar of elevated consciousness, sobriety is often not an external imposition, but rather a profound inner knowing that arises from deep within. As we delve deeper into dedicated practices of consistent meditation, sustained self-awareness, and meaningful spiritual connection, many of us may begin to feel a subtle but unmistakable calling to gradually abandon or significantly reduce our alcohol consumption. This intuitive calling is not an expression of judgment, but rather a powerful quest for alignment, a deep-seated desire to live in a more authentic, more connected, and ultimately freer way. Is it possible that the dedicated pursuit of sobriety is less about what we are consciously giving up and far more about what we stand to gain in the long run? Sobriety does not necessarily have to be viewed as a form of deprivation or self-denial, but rather as a liberating gateway to a clearer, more profound, and infinitely more fulfilling existence. Habits are frequently unconscious inheritances that we passively carry from one generation to the next. Consider how alcohol consumption is seamlessly integrated into routine family celebrations, such as festive holiday parties, elaborate weddings, or casual weekend get-togethers. For many individuals, growing up in an environment where alcohol is consistently present implicitly instills the subconscious idea that drinking is essentially synonymous with celebration or relaxation. This constant repetition creates a self-perpetuating cycle that can be exceedingly difficult to break free from. Many of us neglect to question these deeply ingrained patterns simply because they seem natural, socially accepted, and even intrinsically necessary. But consciously breaking free from these inherited habits is not merely an individual choice. It represents a powerful opportunity to actively rewrite limiting family stories and intentionally create a healthier and more positive model for future generations to emulate. Breaking free from the habitual consumption of alcohol does not necessitate abandoning joyful celebrations or rejecting pleasant moments of deserved pleasure. Rather, it invites bringing mindful awareness to these experiences. A simple yet effective exercise can be profoundly helpful. The next time you experience a strong urge to reach for a drink, gently pause for a few seconds, take a slow, deep breath, and then ask yourself, what am I really seeking in this particular moment? Relaxation, connection, or perhaps a temporary escape from uncomfortable realities? Often, you will realize that the perceived craving for alcohol is actually a subconscious desire for something deeper and more meaningful. A quiet moment of inner peace, a safe space to thoughtfully process complex emotions, or even a profound search for greater meaning and purpose in your daily life. This conscious pause, this deliberate moment of mindful self-observation, is a profoundly powerful step in consciously breaking free from the limiting confines of autopilot and actively beginning to live life with intentionality. Many people habitually turn to alcohol as a readily available way to cope with difficult or overwhelming emotions. It functions as a readily available escape valve for moments of crippling anxiety, overwhelming stress, or enduring emotional pain. However, instead of addressing and healing these often deep emotional wounds, alcohol only acts as a temporary form of anesthesia, allowing the underlying causes to remain untouched and unresolved. It is a momentary band-aid that frequently results in a destructive cycle of emotional dependency, where the act of drinking not only superficially masks the underlying problem, but also actively perpetuates it. Culturally, this tendency is often reinforced by widely accepted narratives that actively normalize the pervasive use of alcohol as a convenient resource for coping with life's inevitable challenges. Consider, for example, the commonplace image of the driven young professional who routinely relies on happy hour to escape from an intensely stressful work environment, or the hard-working mother who habitually pours a glass of wine in the evening to ease the mental load of a demanding day. These practices become so ubiquitous and deeply ingrained that they are rarely questioned or challenged. However, from a thoughtfully spiritual perspective, this particular choice represents a deviation from the path of mindful awareness and authentic healing. Alcohol subtly disconnects us from our innate ability to effectively process difficult emotions and confidently face adversity with clarity, courage, and resilient strength. By simply masking underlying discomfort, alcohol actively prevents true and lasting healing from taking place. It is akin to attempting to resolve a house fire by merely covering the blaring fire alarm with a cloth instead of diligently working to put out the underlying fire. The fundamental challenge here lies in consciously choosing to face these complex emotions directly without relying on readily available shortcuts or temporary distractions. Consistent meditation, mindful therapy, or even simple practices such as therapeutic journaling can significantly help to bring greater clarity and lasting liberation. It undeniably requires significant vulnerability and demonstrable courage, but it also offers something that alcohol can never provide: authentic, personal transformation. The magnificent human's body is often reverently described in spiritual traditions as a sacred temple, a vital vessel that allows us to consciously experience and meaningfully engage with the intricate tapestry of life. However, routine alcohol consumption, even in relatively small amounts, can significantly compromise the delicate harmony of this precious temple, subtly affecting not only physical health and well-being, but also the often unseen flows of energy that sustain our fundamental spiritual vitality. On the tangible physical plane, the detrimental impact of alcohol is undeniably evident. It places an undue burden on the liver, weakens the essential immune system, and demonstrably interferes with necessary mental clarity. Numerous scientific studies have consistently pointed out how alcohol can directly damage the delicate nervous system, which, in spiritual terms, often translates to a serious interruption in the vital communication between the physical body and the often elusive mind. It is akin to an essential circuit being consistently overloaded, making it considerably more difficult to consciously connect with our higher purpose in life. Furthermore, within the complex energetic field, alcohol can actively create significant blockages in the various channels through which vital energy flows, known in various traditions as nadis or meridians. These detrimental blockages, especially when located in the lower chakras, can demonstrably diminish our innate creativity, healthy self-esteem, and crucial decision-making abilities. Instead of functioning as a vital bridge to higher dimensions of consciousness, the physical body becomes heavy, dense, and often profoundly disconnected from its intended spiritual purpose. Consciously cultivating harmony between body, mind, and spirit requires consistent and thoughtful care. Practices such as regular yoga, calming Tai Chi, or simply embracing a well-balanced diet can all effectively help to rebalance the physical body and gently restore its natural state of vibrant vitality. By mindfully caring for the body as a sacred temple, we actively create the ideal conditions for conscious expansion and sustained alignment with the divine. The present moment is the only space in which authentic life truly unfolds. However, habitual alcohol consumption frequently steals this essential connection, subtly plunging us into detrimental states of unconsciousness or distracted attention. Under its seemingly innocuous influence, it is exceedingly common to experience a subtle numbness that progressively distances us from the full, conscious experience of the ever-present now. When intoxicated, we actively lose the vital clarity that allows us to thoughtfully observe our often chaotic thoughts and potentially overwhelming emotions with any degree of objective distance. Time often seems to inexplicably slip away, and precious moments that could have been deeply meaningful often dissolve into fragmented or completely absent memories. It is akin to watching life unfold through a dense fog, where the vibrant colors are noticeably less saturated and the connections often feel superficial at best. This profound disconnection from the present moment has deep and far-reaching implications for sustained spiritual growth. Mindful presence is the solid foundation of meaningful spiritual practice, because it is fundamentally through being fully present that we authentically connect with our innermost essence and with the boundless universe. Influential authors such as Eckhart Tolle consistently emphasize that it is only in the present moment that we can actively find lasting peace, clarity, and genuine fulfillment. By subtly pulling us away from this precious state, alcohol actively robs us of the profound ability to consciously access these deeper dimensions of vibrant existence. On the other hand, consciously cultivating the capacity for mindful presence does not require extraordinarily grand efforts or drastic lifestyle changes. It can mindfully begin with simple and readily accessible mindfulness practices, such as mindfully observing your natural breath, intentionally listening attentively to someone speak, or even simply feeling the gentle warmth of the sun on your skin. Each conscious act of mindful presence is a deliberate step toward consciously regaining control over your own life and actively aligning with your intended purpose. Throughout recorded history, countless people have successfully transformed their lives by deliberately giving up routine alcohol consumption and consciously rediscovering a deeper and more authentic connection with themselves and the magnificent universe. These inspiring stories are not merely about overcoming an addictive habit. Rather, they are about actively realizing a profound spiritual potential that once seemed inaccessible or even non-existent. Consider the widely reported example of celebrities such as Brad Pitt, who has openly shared how his difficult journey to sustained sobriety demonstrably helped him reconnect with his underlying emotions and fundamentally redefine his entire worldview. From globally recognized pop culture icons to highly regarded contemporary spiritual gurus, many report that mindfully giving up alcohol has brought about remarkable benefits that consistently extend far beyond the purely physical realm. Enhanced mental clarity, improved emotional balance, and a demonstrably deeper connection to their inherent life purpose. These inspiring transformation stories also include ordinary, everyday people. A dedicated father who, after deliberately giving up alcohol, discovered both the time and energy to reconnect meaningfully with his children. A driven young professional who mindfully swapped nights of excessive drinking for peaceful mornings of dedicated meditation, discovering a reservoir of inner strength she had not previously known she possessed. What these diverse stories have in common is that by consciously choosing to leave alcohol behind, each individual has mindfully discovered a more authentic path, actively aligned with their true essence and intended potential. These inspiring transformations serve as a powerful reminder that we are all undeniably capable of profound and lasting change. Intentionally giving up alcohol is not merely a significant loss, but rather a powerful trade. What is consciously left behind is invariably replaced with something infinitely more meaningful and enduring. These stories resonate so deeply because they demonstrate that sobriety is not merely a pragmatic choice, but rather a conscious act of undeniable spiritual courage. Mindfully giving up alcohol is not merely a one-time decision. It is a continuous journey that inevitably requires ongoing support, dedicated reflection, and the adoption of new and healthier practices. Fortunately, a wide array of readily accessible tools and supportive communities are actively available to help those who are diligently seeking to mindfully transform their relationship with alcohol into a meaningful path of sustained growth and deliberate spiritual awakening. Long-standing support groups such as Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, are deeply rooted in fundamental spiritual principles, consistently emphasizing the vital importance of a conscious connection to a higher power and the demonstrable benefits of sustained self-observation. For those individuals seeking less conventional approaches, an impressive array of meditation communities, local yoga centers, and online forums are readily available, offering a wealth of invaluable support and ongoing inspiration. These intentional spaces allow individuals to openly share their personal stories, find strength in common experiences, and consciously discover practices that effectively promote sustained self-awareness. Additionally, consciously creating new and fulfilling rituals can be a remarkably effective way to thoughtfully replace the familiar act of alcohol consumption. Mindfully crafted mocktails, fragrant herbal infusions, or even a specially prepared cup of tea can all become valuable elements of mindful celebration and deliberate relaxation. Intentionally ritualizing various moments of the day with valuable practices such as mindful breathing or dedicated meditation can powerfully transform the ingrained habit of drinking into a valuable opportunity for authentic reconnection with the ever-present now. Various mystical practices can also actively support this meaningful process. Crystals, such as the amethyst, are often associated with deliberate energetic protection and an active strengthening of the conscious will. Mantras, or short and deliberately repeated prayers, can purposefully serve as consistent anchors to actively maintain clarity in moments of perceived temptation. These mindful practices, though seemingly simple, deliberately create a dedicated space for thoughtful reflection and sustained spiritual empowerment. By consciously adopting these valuable tools, what initially seems like a significant loss is purposefully transformed into a valuable invitation for limitless personal expansion. Maintaining sustained sobriety in a world that often celebrates and actively promotes alcohol can be undeniably challenging. But it also provides a valuable opportunity to strengthen your profound connection with your authentic essence and consciously practice unwavering self-confidence. At social events, professional work meetings, or family gatherings, alcohol often appears to be the unquestioned norm, subtly making the deliberate decision to politely refuse a drink an act that noticeably requires both intentional clarity and undeniable courage. Subtle social pressure is indeed real. A simple and polite "no thank you" can sometimes be met with underlying curiosity or subtle insistence. Intentional responses such as "I'm consciously doing a detox" or "I'd simply prefer to remain more fully present today" offer a valuable way to politely decline without intentionally creating unnecessary discomfort. More importantly, these conscious choices actively reinforce your own inner conviction and mindfully demonstrate that it is not always necessary to justify conscious decisions that are fully aligned with your own personal well-being. It is also essential to consciously cultivate feelings of empathy for those who mindfully choose to continue consuming alcohol. Intentionally judging or consciously demonizing habitual drinkers does not contribute positively to either your own personal journey or theirs. Instead, consciously choosing to embrace a compassionate and understanding attitude intentionally creates a more welcoming and mutually supportive environment and can potentially inspire others to mindfully reflect on their own conscious choices. Consciously becoming a living example of authentic balance and sustained joy without alcohol is one of the most powerful ways to communicate the profound nature of your transformative journey. When those around you consciously witness that you are more fully present, genuinely more connected, and consistently more at peace, they may begin to mindfully recognize that there is an alternative path that is equally rewarding and potentially more fulfilling. What is deliberately at stake is not merely a superficial habit change, but rather the profound possibility of a genuine spiritual rebirth. By mindfully giving up alcohol, you are consciously opening yourself up to enhanced mental clarity, a significantly deeper connection with your authentic self, and a more profound relationship with the magnificent universe. This meaningful process is not merely liberating, but also an intentional act of undeniable courage, because it inevitably requires deliberately confronting certain difficult truths about yourself that are often far easier to passively avoid. Now, the call to conscious action. Intentionally try a conscious pause. Deliberately dedicate a full 7 days to mindfully abstaining from alcohol. Consciously observe your underlying emotions, natural energy levels, and natural connection to the ever-present now. Actively use this dedicated time as a meaningful spiritual experiment, a valuable opportunity to consciously feel the profound difference that deliberate sobriety can potentially bring to your life. Intentionally let your personal experience be a living testimony to the conscious choice to actively transform your life. Consciously share your thoughtful reflections with others and actively invite them to mindfully explore this enriching possibility as well. So, to bring it all together, what we've really explored here is the potential for profound transformation that lies within each of us when we thoughtfully examine our relationship with alcohol. It's not about judgment or restriction, but rather about conscious choice, about understanding the subtle ways alcohol can impact our energy, our connection to ourselves, and our spiritual growth. It's about asking ourselves, what am I truly seeking? And finding those answers within, not in a bottle. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever considered this perspective? What are your experiences, your questions, or perhaps even your hesitations? Please, leave a comment below. Let's start a conversation and learn from each other. And if this resonated with you, if you're curious about exploring these deeper, often unseen aspects of life, then please subscribe. I'll be sharing more explorations like this, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on the next discovery. Until then, be well, be present, and be courageous in your journey of self-discovery.